We often grow up with the idea that confidence is something we gain from achievements, applause, or approval. That if enough people believe in us, then maybe we'll start to believe in ourselves. But true confidence doesn't begin outside of us. It begins in the quiet space within. It begins the moment we choose to trust ourselves, not because we've proven anything, but because we've realized we don't have to. Confidence is not showy. It isn't loud. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It's not about how many people agree with you, how many accolades you've received, or how many times someone has told you, "You're doing great." Confidence is what remains when all the noise dies down, and you're left with nothing but your own voice. And in that silence, you either lean into yourself or you shrink away. When you begin to trust your instincts, your feelings, your sense of direction, even when it contradicts what the world is telling you, that's where confidence is born. It is self-trust. It is the decision to say, even if I haven't done this before, I know I have what it takes to try, and that's enough. This kind of confidence doesn't shout to be heard, it just knows. There's a certain freedom that comes with trusting yourself. You stop looking around the room for approval. You stop looking around the room for approval. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for being where you are or for wanting what you want. Because the moment you start trusting your own voice, the need for outside validation starts to fall away. You don't reject others, you simply stop making them the mirror through which you see yourself. When you rely on external validation, confidence becomes fragile. It rises and falls with someone else's mood, opinion, or approval. But when your confidence comes from within, from a grounded place of self-respect and clarity, it's stable, steady. It carries you through the moments when no one's clapping, through the quiet seasons, the hard decisions, the detours no one else understands. That's the kind of confidence that sustains. This isn't about ignoring feedback or closing yourself off. It's about having a deep-rooted belief that your inner guidance matters, that your feelings, your thoughts, your desires, they're valid. And even if the world doesn't understand your path right away, it doesn't mean it's the wrong one. So many people wait for a title, a platform, a breakthrough moment before they allow themselves to feel confident. But confidence isn't waiting at the finish line. It's what gets you there. It's what fuels your courage. It's what lets you take that first step when nothing is certain. It doesn't mean you'll never doubt. It means you trust yourself enough to move through that doubt instead of letting it define you. When you show up for yourself consistently, even in the smallest ways, keeping a promise, speaking your truth, honoring your boundaries, that's when confidence becomes part of you. Not a performance, but a presence. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to convince anyone. You just live it. You embody it, and the world starts responding to the way you carry yourself. Confidence is not something you wait to earn. It's something you decide to embrace. It's not a reward. It's a responsibility. A responsibility to believe in your worth, to own your space, and to trust that your life holds meaning even when the path ahead is unclear. Because when you trust yourself, you begin to move with a different kind of rhythm. You stop chasing every opinion and start listening more closely to your own. You stop doubting your worth and start anchoring into it. And that shift, it changes not just how you see yourself, but how the world sees you too. Fear is part of being human. It shows up at every threshold, every decision, every change, every moment that asks us to stretch beyond what we know. And for a long time, we're taught to believe that confidence means being fearless. That those who appear brave must not feel the tremble in their hands or the tightening in their chest. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's learning how to move with it, how to walk forward, even when your heart is racing and your voice shakes. The text shakes. It's understanding that fear doesn't mean stop. It simply means you're standing at the edge of growth. There's a beautiful thing that happens when you stop waiting to feel ready. When you stop waiting for the fear to disappear before you take the next step. No. Confidence shows up not when you erase fear, but when you decide that your desire to live fully is stronger than your fear of what might go wrong. Everyone feels fear. The difference is how you respond to it. Do you let it build walls around your dreams? Or do you use it as a compass, pointing you toward the things that matter most? Because often, what scares us the most is the thing that holds the most meaning, the dream that asks more of us, the truth that wants to be spoken, the path that's calling us quietly and persistently. The people you see doing brave things, starting something new, sharing their stories, showing up boldly, aren't immune to fear. They've just learned to keep going even when fear rides shotgun. They've learned that courage isn't about being unafraid. It's about honoring what matters more than the fear. And that's where confidence lives, in the choice to keep going. You see, fear will always whisper that you're not ready, not enough, not worthy. But confidence is the inner voice that says, I may not know how this will turn out, but I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to try anyway. I trust myself enough to take the next step. That trust becomes your anchor. And the more you act from that place, the more your confidence grows. It's not instant. It's not magic, but it's real. And it builds quietly with every small act of courage. Every time you speak when it would have been easier to stay silent. Every time you say yes to something that stretches you. Every time you try again after falling short. That's where true confidence is formed, not in the big wins, but in the quiet moments where you choose to keep showing up. Fear might still be there, but it starts to lose its grip. Because with every step you take through it, you're proving to yourself that you can. And that self-proof is far more powerful than anything anyone else can give you. So don't wait to be fearless. Don't wait until the fear is gone before you start living the life you want. Start now. Start scared. Start unsure. Confidence meets you in the doing, not in the waiting. You'll discover strength you didn't know you had. You'll find that your fear isn't as big as it seemed when you stood still. You'll learn that action, even small, uncertain action, creates momentum. And that momentum is what starts to shape your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's stuck and start seeing yourself as someone who moves forward, even when it's hard. That's what confidence truly is. It's not a personality trait. It's a relationship with yourself, with fear, with growth. It's a decision you make again and again, to trust your ability to figure it out as you go. You don't need to have it all together. You don't need a perfect plan. Like you need a perfect plan. You just need a willingness to take that first step, even if your hands are shaking and your heart is uncertain. And once you take that step, the second one gets easier. Then the third. And before long, you're not the same person who stood at the edge, doubting. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to announce itself. It just shows up in the way you keep choosing to move forward, fear and all. And when you live from that space, not waiting to be unafraid, but walking with courage, anyway, you begin to shift. You begin to live from the inside out. Because the truth is, You were never meant to wait for fear to leave. You were meant to lead it. We often think of confidence as something you wear, something you show. But the truth is, confidence begins long before anyone else sees it. It begins in your energy, in the way you show up when no one is watching, in the way you speak to yourself when things don't go as planned. Don't go as planned. Confidence is less about how you look on the outside and more about what you carry on the inside. And that energy, whether you realize it or not, shapes everything around you. Your energy is your frequency. It's what you radiate when you walk into a room, speak a truth, or hold a silence. People may hear your words, but they feel your energy. And if your energy says, I'm not enough, that's the story the world will respond to. But if your energy says, I belong here, I trust myself, then that's the story you begin to live. You don't need to declare it out loud. You don't need to prove it. You just need to carry it. That quiet knowing becomes a presence. It shifts the way people relate to you, and more importantly, it shifts the way life opens up to meet you. Confidence doesn't demand attention, it draws alignment. When your energy is clear and rooted in self-worth, the right people, opportunities, and moments start to find their way to you. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. You stopped asking if you were allowed to take up space and started embodying the truth that you already do. That's why working on your energy matters more than perfecting your image. You can say all the right things, do everything by the book, and still feel unseen if your energy is filled with doubt. But when you trust who you are, flaws and all, you move differently. You stop shrinking. You stop comparing. You stop waiting for life to validate you. And in that space, things begin to shift. This isn't about pretending to be confident. It's about cultivating an inner state that becomes so stable, so grounded, that it naturally begins to reflect outward. You don't push. You don't chase. You simply align. Well, you simply align. And what you align with starts to find you. What? You begin to see that the energy you bring into the world is not only what defines how others see you, but how you see yourself. It affects how you make decisions, how you speak, how you love, how you lead. If you carry insecurity, the world will mirror situations that trigger it. But if you carry self-trust, the world will echo that strength right back. It's all energy. And energy is not just a feeling, it's a choice. A choice to return to your center again and again. To pause when doubt creeps in. To speak kindly to yourself when the voice of fear gets loud. To breathe deeply when everything feels uncertain and remind yourself, I've got me. That's where confidence starts to shift your life. Not through a single defining moment, but through the small, intentional ways you choose your energy each day. And that consistent choice, it's powerful. It doesn't shout. It resonates. When you walk with that kind of presence, people may not even know why they feel drawn to you, but they will. But they will. They'll feel the peace you carry, the clarity, the strength that doesn't need to prove anything. And more importantly, you'll feel it too. You'll start to see how your own energy can create the environment for your growth, your success, your joy. So before you try to change the world around you, come home to yourself. Tune into the energy you're holding. Ask yourself, what am I radiating today? Doubt or belief? Resistance or trust? Because whatever you lead with, that's what life reflects. Reflect. Confidence is not about pretending to have all the answers. It's about showing up in your truth again and again. It's about becoming so rooted in your inner world that the outer world begins to rise to meet you. There's something powerful that happens when you stop waiting for signs and start becoming one. When you stop needing the world to believe in you and instead choose to believe in yourself, that's when everything begins to shift. Because the moment you decide that you are enough, not someday, not after you've achieved more, but right now the world begins to meet you at that level of belief. Life is always reflecting you, not in some magical, unrealistic way, but in the most grounded, practical sense. The opportunities you see, the people you attract, the boundaries you hold or break, all of it echoes the way you see yourself. If you walk into a room unsure of your worth, that uncertainty colors everything. But when you walk in knowing that your presence is valuable without needing to prove it, the room shifts, the energy shifts. That quiet belief changes the atmosphere. This is not about being better than anyone else. It's not about ego or superiority. It's about owning your space. That's us. At that owning your space. Not apologizing for your voice. Not diminishing your value because someone else can't see it. When you believe in yourself, you don't need constant reassurance. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You simply know. And that knowing becomes a foundation, not just for your confidence, but for your life. Belief in yourself doesn't guarantee that everything will go perfectly, but it does guarantee that you'll keep going, no matter what. Because confidence gives you resilience. It gives you the ability to stand back up after a fall, not because someone told you to, but because deep down you trust your capacity to rise. There's something magnetic about that kind of belief. It's not loud, it's not desperate, it's steady. You don't chase, you attract. It's steady, you don't chase, you attract. Not because you're trying to manipulate outcomes, but because your energy is clear. You are no longer operating from lack. You're not waiting to be chosen, you've already chosen yourself. Piss. And that inner commitment, that is what invites life to meet you halfway. The right people begin to show up not because you demanded their attention, but because you aligned with your truth. Faith pure. The right doors begin to open, not because you forced them, but because your belief placed you in front of them. You start to notice that the world softens around people who move from love instead of fear. And when you believe in yourself, that's what you begin to radiate. That's what you begin to radiate. A soft but unshakable kind of certainty. A calm presence that says, I may not know how this will unfold, but I trust that I'll meet it with everything I am. Confidence doesn't mean you never question yourself. It means when doubt comes, you don't let it drive. You acknowledge it, learn from it, and keep going. You believe in your ability to figure things out as you go. That belief allows you to take risks, to stretch, to evolve, because you're no longer paralyzed by the need for guarantees. When you believe in yourself, you give yourself permission to take up space. You stop holding back. You stop asking for permission to live your life fully. That inner permission is what sets everything in motion, because when you show up whole, you invite wholeness into your life. When you speak your truth, you attract honesty. When you honor your worth, you attract respect. So many people are waiting for life to give them a sign, but life is waiting for you to believe you're ready. Waiting for you to say yes to your gifts, to your voice, to your place in this world. The belief doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be real. It just has to be yours. And that belief, over time, becomes momentum. It becomes a force that carries you through the seasons of uncertainty. Because no matter how long it takes, you've already decided that you're not giving up on yourself. That you're not giving up on yourself. That decision, that unwavering choice to believe in your worth, even when things don't go as planned, even when the world feels silent, that is what changes the game. That is what tells life. I am here. I am ready. I trust myself enough to keep showing up. Because when you believe in yourself, the world doesn't just take notice, it adjusts. It aligns. It opens. Confidence doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't walk into a room demanding attention or validation. It doesn't need to convince anyone of its worth. True confidence is quiet, grounded, and deeply rooted. It doesn't shout because it doesn't have to. It speaks through presence, through authenticity, through alignment. It whispers to the world, I know who I am, and that whisper speaks louder than any performance ever could. In a world where noise often gets mistaken for strength, we've come to associate confidence with volume, louder voices, bolder claims, bigger gestures. But that kind of external display isn't confidence, it's a mask. Real confidence doesn't come from how much you can impress others. It comes from how deeply you accept yourself. There's a quiet strength in being exactly who you are, without embellishment. In saying what you mean, without having to decorate your words for approval. In showing up fully, not trying to be more or less than who you are, just standing in your truth. That kind of confidence doesn't need a spotlight. It is the light. Authenticity has a frequency. You feel it in the people who don't try to sell themselves to the world. You feel it in the way they listen, the way they hold space, the way they respond rather than react. Their presence alone is a reminder that strength and softness are not opposites. They are often one and the same. You don't have to perform to be powerful. You don't have to win every argument to be right with yourself. Confidence means knowing that you're allowed to take a breath before you speak. It means trusting your silence just as much as your words, because when you are rooted in who you are, your energy carries the message long before you open your mouth. This kind of quiet confidence can sometimes be misunderstood. People might ask, why aren't you speaking up more? Why don't you try to stand out? But when you no longer need to be seen to know that you matter, that's when your true power begins to grow. You stop needing attention, and instead, you attract resonance. You begin to connect not from a place of trying to be liked, but from a place of being real. And when you're real, you give others permission to be real too. That's the beauty of quiet confidence. It creates space. It doesn't overpower. It invites. And in that space, connection becomes more honest, more human, more meaningful. Confidence whispers, I belong here. Not because of what I've done, not because of who approves of me, but because I've decided that I do. And when that whisper is rooted in truth, the world begins to respond in ways that are quieter, deeper, and far more fulfilling than applause. You begin to value depth over attention, alignment over performance, presence over perfection, over perfection. You begin to realize that being at peace with yourself is the highest form of confidence there is. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to convince the world that you're worthy. That battle ends when you choose to believe it for yourself. And when that belief runs deep, it becomes your foundation, not just in the high points, but in the low moments too. Because quiet confidence isn't circumstantial. It doesn't disappear when things get hard. It holds you steady when the world feels uncertain. It reminds you, gently but firmly, that you can trust yourself even when the path ahead is unclear. So let go of the need to shout. Let go of the pressure to perform. You don't need to be louder to be more. You just need to be real. And in that realness, in that still grounded, undeniable presence, there is strength beyond measure. Confidence is not a destination you arrive at one day. It's a practice, a daily choice. A commit to keep showing up for yourself even when the path isn't clear, even when the results aren't instant, even when the old voices of doubt creep in and try to pull you back. Confidence is built in the quiet consistency of honoring who you are over and over again. Too often, we treat confidence like something we either have or don't have, as if it's some fixed trait handed to a lucky few, while the rest of us just hope to catch a glimpse of it someday. But confidence isn't found, it's formed. It's found, it's forged. Do. It's something you build every time you take a step, especially when you're unsure. Every time you show up for yourself in small ways that no one sees. Every time you choose growth over comfort. And that's the truth. It's not the big, dramatic moments that define your confidence. It's the small one. No, that's the small ones. The unseen, uncelebrated decisions. Like getting out of bed on a hard day. Like speaking up when your voice shakes. Like trying again after failing. These are the quiet acts of courage that strengthen your confidence from the inside out. We often want quick results. We want to feel better now, to be stronger today, to overcome all fear in one leap. But confidence doesn't work like that. It's like building a muscle. It takes repetition. And just like with any training, some days will feel easier than others. Some days you'll feel on fire, full of clarity and power. Other days you'll question everything. But consistency is what bridges those days together. It's what carries you through the doubt. You have to keep showing up, even when you're tired, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Even when the voice in your head says, what's the point? Because every time you choose to show up anyway, you're rewriting that voice. You're training your mind to see that you are capable, that you can do hard things, that you can trust yourself to follow through. This is where real transformation happens, not in motivation, but in discipline. Not in temporary inspiration, but in daily devotion. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It's a decision you return to. Decision to live in alignment with your values, even when it's inconvenient. A decision to treat yourself with compassion, even when you fall short. A decision to keep going, not because it's easy, but because you're worth the effort. And here's the beauty of it. The more you show up for yourself, the more you begin to believe that you're someone worth showing up for. That's what builds unshakable self-trust. That's what deepens your sense of identity. You no longer look outside for validation because you've already proven to yourself, day by day, that you are enough. Not because of a result, but because of your willingness to try. People sometimes think confidence means never struggling, never doubting, never breaking down. But it's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Confidence says, yes, I fell, but I got back up. It says, yes, I'm scared, but I'm still moving. It says, yes, I'm human, and I'm still worthy. And I'm still worthy. That kind of confidence is earned, not through proving yourself to the world, but through honoring yourself in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. The commitment to be consistent, not perfect. Just consistent is what shapes who you become. Every day is another chance to strengthen that consistency, to act in alignment with the person you're becoming, to build habits that reflect the love and respect you have for yourself, to speak, think, and move in ways that serve your growth instead of sabotage it. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to keep showing up with intention, with honesty, with a willingness to learn. You'll have days where you stumble, days where you want to quit. That's okay. What matters is that you return again and again and again. Because when you do, you start to realize something important. Confidence isn't something far away, waiting to be reached. It's already within you, waiting to be lived. And with every small, courageous, consistent step, you bring more of it to life. Love. As we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this. Confidence is not a single moment or achievement. It's a journey, a steady, ongoing practice that you build each day with the choices you make. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment to step into your power. It's about finding your strength in the messy, imperfect moments and trusting that you are enough just as you are. Just as you are. Each time you face your fears, show up for yourself, and choose growth over comfort, you are adding another layer to your confidence. And as you do, you begin to see the world reflect that belief back to you in ways you never imagined. Remember, the true power of confidence lies not in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your belief in yourself. So, step forward with quiet strength, with unwavering trust, and with the knowing that every step you take is shaping the life you're meant to live. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for choosing to believe in your own potential. I wish you all the best as you continue to build your confidence, step by step, day by day. Good luck on your journey, and may you always find the courage to live fully and authentically. Thank you, and take care.